That was the reason they gave for the disappearance of the auspicious clouds and hallowed mists and for the cessation of tribute on the part of the foreign nations. The dim-witted ruler never gave the matter another thought. At once, those venal officials had us monks arrested and inflicted on us endless tortures and interrogations. There were altogether 3 generations of monks in this monastery. 2 of them, unable to withstand such terrible treatments, died. The rest of us are now locked up in kangs and locks, still accused of this crime. Think of it, Venerable Father, how could we dare be so bold as to steal the treasure in the pagoda? We beg you in your great compassion to have regard for the special affinity of our kind. Vouchsafe your great mercy and exercise your mighty Dharma power to save our lives." When Tripitaka heard this, he nodded his head and sighed, saying, "There are certainly hidden aspects to this matter that have not yet come to light. For one thing, the court has been remiss in its rule, and for another, all of you may be faced with a fated calamity. But if it was the shower of blood sent by heaven that had defiled the treasure pagoda, why didn't you people at the time prepare a memorial to present to your ruler, so that you would be spared such affliction?" "Holy Father," said the monk, "we are only common folks. How could we know the will of heaven? Moreover, if our senior colleagues could not determine what to do, how would we be able to settle the matter?" "Wukong," said Tripitaka. "What time is it now?" "About the hour of Shin," replied Pilgrim. "I would like to have an audience with the ruler," said Tripitaka, "so that our travel rescript may be certified. But we have not yet fully understood what has happened to the monks here, and it's hard for me to speak to the ruler about this matter. After I left Chang'an, I made a vow in the Temple of the Law Gate that on my journey to the west, I would burn incense in every temple, I would bow to Buddha in every monastery, and I would sweep a pagoda whenever I came across a pagoda. Today, we have met you monks who have been grievously wronged because of a treasure pagoda. Why don't you people fetch me a new broom? Let me bathe first, and then I'll go up there to sweep it clean. Let me see if I can discover exactly what has caused the defilement and the loss of the pagoda's brilliance. Once we determine that, we can memorialize to their ruler and deliver them from this affliction." When they heard this, some of those monks carrying the kangs and locks dashed into the kitchen and picked up a kitchen knife to hand over to 8 Rules, saying, "Father, please take the knife and see if you can sever the chains on the pillar over there, so that those young priests can be freed. They can then go to prepare a meal and a scented bath for the Holy Fathers here. We'll go to the streets to beg a new broom for him to use to sweep the pagoda. It's so easy to open locks," said 8 Rules, chuckling. "There's no need for a knife or an axe. Ask that hairy-faced father. He's a seasoned lock picker." Pilgrim indeed went forward and, using the lock-opening magic, gave the shackles a wipe with his hand. Immediately, all the chains and locks fell to the ground. Those young priests ran into the kitchen to scrub the pots and pans and prepare a meal. After Tripitaka and his disciples ate, it was gradually turning dark when some of these monks still kanged and locked came in with 2 brooms. Tripitaka was very pleased. As he spoke with them, another young priest came in with a lamp to invite him to go take his bath. By then, the moon and the stars were shining brilliantly outside as the sound of bamboo drums started from the watchtowers. Truly, at 4 walls the cold wind arose. In every house the lamps burned bright. Shutters in all 6 lanes went up. Doors of 3 markets were shut tight. Fishing boats retired to the woods. Plowmen their short ropes forsook. The woodcutter's axe now rested. A student recited his book. After he finished bathing, Tripitaka put on a short-sleeve undershirt, which he tied with a sash. He changed into a pair of soft-soled shoes and picked up a new broom. "You should all go to sleep," he said to the monks, "and let me go sweep the pagoda." "If the pagoda had been defiled by a bloody rainstorm," said Pilgrim, "and if it had grown dark for such a long time already, some vicious things might have been bred up there. If you go up all by yourself in this cold, windy night, you may run into something unexpected. How about letting Old Monkey be your companion?" "Very good. Very good," replied Tripitaka. Each of them thus took up a broom. They went first to the main hall and lit the glass chalice and burned fresh incense. Tripitaka went to his knees before the Buddha image and prayed, saying, "Your disciple, Chen Shenzeng, by the decree of the Great Tang in the land of the East, was sent to worship our Buddha Tathagata in the Spirit Mountain and to ask for scriptures. Arriving here at the Golden Light Monastery of the Sacrifice Kingdom, I was told by the monks of this monastery that the treasure pagoda had been defiled. The king suspected that the monks had stolen the treasure, and they were wrongly charged with a crime, the cause of which no one, in fact, had knowledge. In all earnestness, therefore, your disciple has decided to sweep this pagoda. I beg our Buddha to reveal quickly by his mighty spirit the true source of the pagoda's defilement, so that the innocence of these mortal men can be established." After his prayer, he and Pilgrim opened the door of the pagoda and began to sweep it, beginning with the lowest tier. Truly this pagoda leans ruggedly toward the sky and rises, towering, in the air. It's justly called a pagoda of 5-colored glass. A starry peak of 1,000 gold. Its stairs winding like a tunnel. An open cage when its doors unfold. Its treasure vase reflects the moon in the sky. Its golden bells ring with the wind of the sea. You can see the empty eaves saluting the stars, and the lofty top detaining the clouds. The empty eaves saluting the stars creates a phoenix piercing strange rocks and flowers. The lofty top detaining the clouds brings forth a pagoda dragon fog entwined. Your gaze on top will reach 1,000 miles. Up there, it'll feel like the ninefold heaven. In glass lamp at the door of each tier. There's dust but no fire. On white jade railings before every eave. Gather dirt and flying insects. Inside the pagoda. Above the votive tables. Smoke and incense all extinguished. Outside the windows. Or before the images. Cobwebs opaque and widespread. There's more rat dung in the urns. Then there's oil in the chalice. Because a treasure was in secret lost. Priests have been killed, their lot made bitter and vain. Since Tripitaka wills to sweep it clean. The pagoda's old form will, of course, be seen. The Tang monk used his broom to sweep clean one tier before going up to another tier. By the time he reached the 7th tier, it was already the hour of the 2nd watch, and the elder began to tire. "You're getting tired," said Pilgrim. "Sit down and let Old Monkey do the sweeping for you." "How many tiers are there on this pagoda?" asked Tripitaka. Pilgrim replied, "I'm afraid there are at least 13 tiers. Attempting to endure his fatigue, the elder said, "I must finish sweeping it to fulfill my vow." He swept 3 more tiers, and his torso and legs ached so badly that he had to sit down on the 10th tier. "Wukong," he said, "you sweep clean the rest of the 3 tiers for me and then come back down." Rousing his energy, Pilgrim went up to the 11th tier, and in a moment, he ascended to the 12th tier. As he swept the floor, he heard someone speaking on the top of the pagoda. "That's strange. That's strange," said Pilgrim. "It has to be about the hour of the 3rd watch now. How could there be anyone speaking on the pagoda top? This has to be some sort of deviant creature. Let me go and have a look." Dear Monkey King. Stealthily he picked up the broom and put it under his arm. Hitching up his clothes, he crawled out of the door and rose into the clouds to look around. There in the middle of the 13th tier of the pagoda were seated 2 monster spirits, and before them were placed a basin of coarse rice, a bowl, and a wine pot. They were drinking and playing the finger-guessing game. Using his magic, Pilgrim abandoned the broom and whipped out the golden hooped rod. He stood at the doorway and shouted, "Dear fiends! So you stole the treasure on the pagoda. Terrified, the two fiendish creatures quickly got up and pelted Pilgrim with the pot and the bowl, but he blocked the blows with his iron rod and said, "If I slay you, there'll be no one to make the confession." With the rod, he backed them against the wall until they could not move at all, and all they could say was, "Spare us. Spare us. It has nothing to do with us." Someone else took the treasure. Using the magic of seizure, Pilgrim grabbed them with one hand and went back to the 10th tier. "Master," he announced, "I have caught the thieves who stole the treasure." Tripitaka was just dozing. When he heard this, he was both startled and pleased. "Where did you catch them?" he asked. Pilgrim pulled the two fiends forward and made them kneel down. They were having fun on top of the pagoda, he said, drinking and playing the finger-guessing game. When Old Monkey heard all that noise, I mounted the cloud to leap up there and block their escape with no effort at all. But I feared that if I killed them with one blow of the rod, no one would make the confession. That's why I brought them here. Master, you can take their testimony and see where they came from and where they have stashed the treasure." Trembling all over, the two fiends could only utter, "Spare us." Then one of them made this honest confession. "We have been sent here to patrol the pagoda by the All Saints Dragon King of the Green Wave Lagoon in the Scattered Rock Mountain. He is called Busy Bubble, and I am called Bubble Busy.